What's going on, everybody? Happy Wednesday. Hope you're all having a good day. Pop on in your questions or thoughts in the chat whenever you want. We're going to talk through this slate. I'm really happy it's February because I could not catch a break to save my life in January. So it's time, at least not in NBA. In NFL, it was fine. It's time to get into it. We're going to go through it. We'll be here for 25 to 30 minutes, depending on how much interaction we've got going on. But I redid my core plays for those of you who are members of the site. And I suggest you check them out because as of right now, and it's of course ever changing, and it can't be updated all the time because there's going to be guys at 6:30 and all that stuff, or 9:30 Eastern, that are going to come up. But the things I really like, I've really come on to. I think I'm playing Şengün. I think he's going to have some ownership, but I'm into him. I like Trey Jones a lot. Also a guy I expect to have some ownership. I like Wiggins and Thompson from the OKC game. Sorry, from the Golden State game, Golden State, Minnesota. There's a funny opportunity here we have to possibly do like the all revenge stack. You could do it like you have or the revenge stack. It's not the all revenge stack. It's like just a few of them, but it's big ones. It's Kyrie going back to Boston, Wiggins back in Minnesota. And then I had one more. I got to just remember what it was off the top of my head. I can't seem to think of it at the moment. But I do think that there are some interesting ones for that. I really love Cam Johnson and Chris Paul tonight. I'm not spending all the way up, and it's weird because if I am spending up, I'm going to double spend up and take some shots on some of the finish value. Embiid would actually be my favorite to spend up for. Just I think is the highest upside, and I think he's playing with a little bit of a chip. In general, and I think he's trying to win the MVP. So I do like Embiid quite a bit. I've got him in about half my lineup. He's not my biggest buy-in right now, but I'm considering redoing that. I also think like Paolo on the other side. We just saw him put up a monster game against Philly. I'm not sure that he'll do that again, put up 49, but he's 6,700. All of the Orlando guys are kind of playable, so you have a nice little run back if you do want to go that route. And I want to see, so that's basically my core guys are written up there on the site. I'll do the overweight, underweight real quick, and then we'll get to questions and talk about, game stacks and whatever. For what it's worth, before we go through the ownership and who I'm going to be higher or lower on, I do like a lot of game stacks tonight that I think makes sense. I think that Golden State, Minnesota, and Sacramento, San Antonio are my favorites, along with OKC and Houston. Basically, all three of those games I think are really, really stackable, and you can make a good argument for more games. Those are just my three favorites. The highest ownership, so the guys who are getting really high predicted, I'm still a little confused at why everyone looking like they might play Jaylen Noel. I'm not really sure that's really going to happen. I think it's just one of those things that looks like good, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Harrison Barnes, I'll be a little bit underweight. I'll be underweight Jaylen Noel. Probably going to be overweight Deshaun Nix. If I'm not playing Nix, I'm probably going to play Tari Eason in some lineups. They'll use him as the point also. Unless Josh Christopher's starting, in which case I will go back and take a shot on that, which feels bad, but feels better without Jalen Green in the lineup. Paolo, I'm a little bit overweight on. Jordan Clarkson, right now I'm right with the field on. I do like him. Tough matchup, but the price is very tempting. Trey Jones, I'll be overweight. Fred VanVleet, I'll be underweight, although, again, another guy I like that I'm just not getting too much of. Fred VanVleet versus Chris Paul, for example, is one I struggled with, but I ended up on Paul partially due to ownership. I'll be underweight Lauri Markkanen. I'll be underweight Torrey Craig as of right now, although I don't mind him. I'll be underweight Mikal Bridges, underweight Sabonis, underweight Fox, even though both of those are really strong plays. I'm not sure where Bol Bol's projection is going to end up right now. He's looking like popular, but I think that was when Wendell Carter was considered possibly out. So I'll probably end up like a 10% of Bol Bol. Maybe not even that high. Kevin Huerter, I'll be well overweight on. I'll be underweight McDermott. I'll be a little bit overweight on Giddey. Overweight on Gobert. Underweight Josh Richardson. Overweight Jeremy Grant, overweight Andrew Wiggins, overweight Chris Paul, overweight Klay Thompson. I don't know what to do with Podol. They're just not giving. I just have a feeling tonight he's going to end up getting the run, and I'm a little irritated by it because I think that if he gets anywhere near 30 minutes at 5,500, you've got to play him. But it's just hard for me to give him 30 minutes when he just never plays that many. I mean, he's projected for 26. That seems about right. But it often is 18 or 20. So it's a little bit tricky with Podol tonight. So I'm going to have to revisit that one. Şengün, I'll be well overweight on. Franz Wagner, I love him as a player. Probably going to be a little underweight today. A little underweight on Kyle Anderson, even though I like him in this matchup, and I might revisit that one. Underweight Josh Hart at the moment. Don't mind if I end up changing my mind on that one. Underweight Precious, underweight Jaren Jackson Jr., underweight Tobias Harris, although I may change my mind on that one. And then overweight Cam Johnson, overweight Malik Monk. Those are everybody double-digit owned, and then I'll be overweight Embiid. Those are the double-digit owned guys that I've got on my list. So that's sort of a quick rundown of what I'm doing. Let's hear some questions. Let's pop in some thoughts, and let's see what's happening. I hope some of these questions came after I just said my stuff, because what's up to K9, my man over there? Good to see you. Good to see Gabe and TJ in there. Naz Reid is automatic if Rudy sits. Yes, you're playing Naz Reid, assuming that he starts, even if he doesn't start. But I don't see why he wouldn't. So Naz Reid, yes, if Rudy sits, no question. Shea or Curry, slight edge to Shea, not playing either, personally. Carter is starting. Yes, I know. Thoughts on Şengün? I love Şengün. I think Şengün is a tremendous tournament play. I'm a little frustrated at how popular I think he's going to be. So that's the only real argument I have to fade Şengün is the ownership, because I've been saying this about this guy forever, about how talented he was, and he can do everything. Like, I actually think he could, probably one of your best bets for a triple-double tonight. And 8,800, everybody, might look at it and go, whatever. Look at Şengün's game log, and then you throw Jalen Green out of there, and you add the great matchup against the Thunder. It's really hard not to have a lot of interest in Şengün. By the way, a value that no one's really talked about because he's not projecting that well is Jalen Williams, Jalen with a Y on the other side. I think that he's kind of interesting too, because I do think they're going to try to match a little more size, even though they like to go smaller. But Jalen Williams might be able to play 20 minutes. And he's played, for what it's worth, he put up 29.5 the other night against Golden State, put up 19.5 the game before. He's 3,300. Maybe an extra minute boost would be enough for you to talk yourself into playing him. I'm not doing it at the moment, but I don't mind it. What's up to my man, Nick Nelson? Lillard or Kyrie? It's Kyrie for me. Lillard is behind Morant for me. If Bane is out, I don't, we need to know about Bane. He's a true game time decision, but I love Morant anyway. And for anybody who hasn't noticed, all these guys, we've had results all over the place, but the studs have been pretty great lately, and Ja has been one of them. So I will go back to Ja on another plus matchup before I play Lillard personally. But if you want to, they just have different routes of getting there. Like, it takes Lillard having a crazy shooting night and all this stuff. Ja's just going to do it if there's no Desmond Bane. So that's who I have ahead of both those guys. I do think Kyrie is a really interesting play going back to Boston. What's up to Forrest? Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. Like SGA, Paul, FEV, and Curry. Yeah, that's fine. It's very hard for me to justify sometimes with Curry. Now, the matchup is good. He's going to be low owned. But what are you really like when you're playing Curry in general? It should basically be something either narrative driven, players sitting, or you just want to take the low owned guy, because I do think that Curry has a much, much higher bust path than any of these other guys we've mentioned do. But at the same time has a monster ceiling if things break right. I'm a little struggling with the Curry thing myself. I just prefer Ja. I do like Shea in this matchup. It's really, really a plus matchup for him, but I don't think I'm going to go there, even though he's been consistently good. Like, again, we're not really getting ceilings. 10-2 for a guy who's putting up 50s every game. Sure, that's well and good, but give me Embiid and give me a shot at 80. You know what I mean? That's just the way I look at it personally. So that's my reason for being a little bit less on some of those guys. Yeah, I think that everybody on Golden State is in play, as Forrest is pointing out right now. And I am siding more with the Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins guys today than I am with Curry, and it's all price related. Sabonis with the question mark from a man, Nick. I think Sabonis is a legitimately good. There's so many good plays, so I can say this over and over again. I'll just tell you. That's why I started off by saying who I'm playing. I do think Sabonis is a really good play. I didn't end up getting too much of him in my builds, to be honest with you. My argument is probably that if I can, I'll try to find the 1,300 to play Embiid because I think the ceiling is so much higher. And Sabonis is another one of these guys who I absolutely love. But once he gets to 10K, how much upside are we dealing with for a guy who hasn't hit 50 fantasy points in 6 games? It feels a little forced, even though it's a good matchup. And he's playing a ton of minutes in these games, 40, 43, 27, 43 and a half, 41. These fantasy points are just, they're never cutting it. So basically we have a guy who's put up one number we would take since mid-December. So yes, the matchup is plus and all that stuff. But do you really feel comfortable rostering that guy who literally has had one game and we were going on 2 months now that we would even take for a month and a half? For me, it's just I would rather fade a fairly chalky-ish one and play something else. I like Ayton. Yeah, I'm in on that, Ladson. I do think Ayton is completely viable in a double center build for sure. Let's see what else we got. How do I think the field will play the shooting guard position? Optos are going to bring Noel in to feel like it playing. I don't know if this Noel thing, this ownership, it's something about it feels fishy. I'm not buying that he's going to be as popular, and I'm not really sure why the projections like him as much as they do. So Daishen Nix would be the better play if he's starting. And as of right now, that's, until I hear anything else, that's sort of what I'm assuming. They don't have another point guard. They can use Tari Eason as a point guard, but you'd think that Nix and Eason would split up those minutes and they would both play together even some as well. So that's the way I would look at it, is playing one of Tari Eason or Nix. Tari Eason's been really good and does take over a lot of the handling responsibilities. He's also an excellent rebounder, and his usage has been 30 a couple games ago, 22 the last game. Been right in around that 20 mark over the last 8 games, and now we have no Jalen Green. So I would be trying to get one of those two guys in. Tari Eason, obviously just power forward eligible on DraftKings, but they actually do run some of the offense through him. Jae'Sean Tate is another one they use for offense for point guard as well. So it's really whoever starts between these guys is probably my default, but I don't mind any of them regardless of whether they start or not between Eason, Tate, and Nix. And I know Eason's a big guy, but I'm just saying as a guy who you can actually run some offense through, who can try and score for you, he's going to take over some of that role, because none of these other guys, even Eason's not a ball handler, only Tate and Nix are. Eric Gordon, you could argue, but his point guard days are a little bit behind him. And his price has made him unplayable, which is too bad, because if he was back in this 3K range and no one wanted to play him, I would be all over that. Jae'Sean Tate can run point. Yes, absolutely, Forrest. I don't think Brogdon is even relevant. So I didn't even look at Brogdon. Let me see what his price is. I don't see why he would be particularly his minutes have been really good. He had the overtime against the Lakers, so that was an extra 5 minutes. But 34 against the Knicks. I actually think that Brogdon is fairly priced, but not a guy who's on my radar tonight. With no Marcus Smart, you'd think that it would be a little bit more interesting, but I think he is. I think both he and Derek White are fine. I just don't have either of them as priorities of any kind. Keep popping in questions, guys. Love going rapid fire. If there's anything else, keep going. We got some more time to handle this. Sorry about the drilling noises in the background. They're doing some work on the new house, and keep firing them on in. Let's keep this thing moving. Other things I'm looking at today. I still have this weird when they're searching for value playing some Isaiah Joe. He played 25 minutes the other night. The minutes have been interesting, and he's got upside. He just has to get hot a little bit. He's an off the board guy I'm using a little bit. Using, as I mentioned, a little bit of Giddey, a little bit of Barnes, a little bit of Ayton. I have a lot of Daishen Nix. I like him as a player anyway. But and again, not the point. They don't have the point guard thing, but it does feel like a little bit scary. I mean, this guy played 36 minutes in a game and put up 5 fantasy points. That's almost impossible. Literally, almost impossible to do if you ran it a million times. So I'm a little bit nervous about the Knicks thing, but that is just truth be told where I'm at right now. Any love for Gary Trent on FanDuel? Yeah, I think he's fine. I think Gary Trent is completely fine. Absolutely. I know the Knicks thing is a worry. But he's 3.5K and he is shooting guard eligible. I don't really know how else to put it than that, you know. And I mean, and it's not like we don't play other guys with this usage rate, you know. And his usage rate also don't forget, like most of that usage is with Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. Of course, he's not going to go nuts with those guys playing alongside him. Now he's really just got Şengün to worry about because none of the other guys are really offensive-minded players. Sure, there are other players with a shot at a triple-double, but there's nobody like I have targeted trying to find it. Embiid would be another one you could consider for a triple-double. Maybe Kyrie. The rebounds come and go with him. Chris Paul. Those are mostly the ones I've got. Could you get a throwback Draymond game? Maybe, sure. Those are the ones who stand out to me anyway. I'm not making any prop bets today, so I don't have any of those things too much. No, we do golf videos. Sheets is supposed to do one this evening, but if not, I'll try to do one. The golf slates have been just atrocious. And then last week we forgot that it was Wednesday, not Thursday start. So we were supposed to record and then we didn't. But we will start doing. We'll make sure to have golf videos for you. And if there isn't one out tonight, I certainly will have my core plays and all that stuff done. So you'll have an idea of what we're doing with the slate. But I haven't been as interested in golf since the live stuff because it sort of threw off all of the way I was ranking players. So I'm kind of a little bit trying to just toe my way back into it. Let's see what else we got here. Corey Kispert, but Corey Kispert, yeah, exactly. Without those guys, but yeah. Anyway, Corey Kispert is obviously he's just mentioning that there's a similar type of usage rate. Yeah, neither of them very fun. All right, guys, keep firing them in. Let's see what else we got in here. Any Kings players? So yeah, I actually prefer Herder by a little bit to Barnes, and some of that's ownership related. I like Keegan Murray a little bit because of the ownership being lower. I'm not as high on Sabonis as other people are, and I'm not as high on Fox as other people are, but I would pick Fox over Sabonis if I had to pick one. I just happen to like Chris Paul a little bit better. And that makes me a little bit nervous to say because you think of it's just Chris Paul in this role. If the game is close against Atlanta, you got to imagine that he's going to have a decent night. And I don't feel like he's hurting me almost ever, and I feel like he might be able to put up like a 55 or 60 in this matchup. All right, let's see what else we got here. Are you looking for the crappy San Antonio values at Langford? No, I'm not interested particularly in San Antonio's value unless anybody else is out. The guys who I do like, I like Trey Jones. If you wanted to play the San Antonio guys, I'm not going to fault you for it. I'm not playing roulette with them again. Langford, if he's out, then that changes things a little bit. I do think McDermott becomes a little bit more interesting if he's out, but not what I'm trying to do. Let's see. And all right. All right. Bane is in. Good job. Morant fade. It's not a big fade, and no one's playing him. I still think he's kind of an interesting tournament flyer, but I'm probably not going to end up playing him in my serious buy-ins. But I think he's fine. I still think Morant is completely fine for what it's worth. I just don't think it's as much. Is Bridges trustworthy? No. Mikal Bridges is a guy who, like, you can't rely on the fantasy production because there's so many other factors that come into play with it. But I do think that he's got the upside to justify his price. I just don't want to play him as a chalky play. Good question, though. I don't know how to answer that question, MJ. MJ, I love, but I don't know how to answer what's the late news, if any. I don't know. Like, this is the NBA. I'm not going to, like, you know what I mean? There's not like a specific, like, speculative spot that I'm, like, sure of or anything. But I'm sure that, as usual, on a 9-game slate, there's going to be some. Let's see. I think I've answered most of those things. Yeah, I just don't know how to answer those questions. They throw me completely. Like, I don't know. I don't know how to answer who's the late game stuff. All right. I think a favorite center on FanDuel. Hated FanDuel's tournament options as usual today. Let's see who I would have at center on FanDuel. And I guess it's going to be pretty similar to what I would have on DraftKings. I think Sabonis is a better play over there. Oh, Şengün. It's Şengün for me. For what it's worth, I have Şengün as a better play than Sabonis straight up tonight. Now, that doesn't mean that, like, I don't think it's right for a median score. I think Şengün gets 60 as often as Sabonis gets 60 here. Maybe more often. And he's a lot cheaper. So maybe that gives you thing. What else do we have? Yeah, Precious is interesting. They've shown that they're going to start him and stick with him. It's I like the matchup and the pace for him. I like him. I didn't get to him a bunch, but I'm totally fine with him. I think he's a legitimately good play. I'm just not playing much of him. FVV and Barnes, I think, are both really, really good tournament plays. I'm siding with Chris Paul over FVV, and I never do that. When I play Chris Paul, things tend to go very well, so I'm hoping that sticks tonight because as of right now, he's my main lineup. Trae Young, no, not for me. Exactly. Like, you want to target the Raptors and the Knicks. It's just what Ladson's saying. Like, because those minutes, you just can't find them elsewhere. And all you can ask for is a shot. If your guy has a bad game and screws you over, okay, that's it. You move on, you play the next slate. But when your guy gets cut and he only plays 20 minutes or something like that, and you're expecting 34, that's when it really feels frustrating. And you feel like maybe mistakes were made, unless it's a blowout or something like that. James Harden is fine. I would rather just find a way to play Embiid, but I'm totally fine with Harden. Vanderbilt Flyer, not for me. What else do we have here? I don't know if there's anything else before I get out of here. So, guys, with all that said, I hope everybody crushes it tonight. I hope that you guys make a fortune, and I'm going to be in Discord all night, and I'll be happy to answer questions. I like the boldness, Yannick, the Jalen Williams and Tillman. By the way, there is a non-0% chance that Tillman could start tonight. Like, don't throw that out the window. That's completely possible. I actually could see Tillman playing some minutes tonight, so I don't mind the Tillman idea. By the way, even not starting, like, it's still 25 in 3 out of the last 4. I'm not going to fault you for getting weird with it. And we've also seen centers have big games against Nurkic. It's a wild, crazy play, but I can get behind it. Anyway, I appreciate all you guys, of course. And make sure I'm gonna enter this our betting a new site that I'm working with, and it's pretty awesome, and it really helps with straight sports betting. It'll tell you all your strengths and weaknesses. It's really incredible, and I'm gonna attach it. It's called Better Takes. That's our Discord link. Jump on in, get into some free contests, and let's make some money, guys. Let's do it, and good luck to everyone tonight.